Hello, my name is Olivia Davidson, and what I'm about to share with you is not just a personal experience, but a divine revelation that changed my life forever. Before we continue, I want to ask a quick favor. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe now. Many of those who watch the videos aren't subscribed, and you might be missing out on content that can spiritually transform your life. By subscribing, you ensure you won't miss any deep and life-changing messages. Now get ready, because what I'm about to share will profoundly shift your view on the past, present, and future. But before I unveil these incredible revelations, you need to understand how I got there. That night, I was on my way to my local church for our weekly prayer meeting. As a devout Christian, a churchgoer for more than 30 years, my faith had always been the anchor of my life. Yet deep inside, I carried questions, unanswered, lingering questions about race, identity, and spirituality that no one seemed to fully explain. The evening air was cold, a light drizzle coating the roads in a slick sheen. I glanced at my watch. 6:45 p.m. I was running late. Sister Martha had asked me to lead the opening prayer, and I didn't want to disappoint her. As I approached the intersection of Maple and Oak Street, everything changed in an instant. A truck ran a red light. I tried to swerve, but there was no escape. The impact was devastating. A deafening clash of metal shattering glass. Then silence. A silence so complete, so absolute, that it felt like the entire world had paused. And in that moment, I felt myself lifting, weightless, as if being drawn away from my body. The pain vanished, replaced by a profound peace that washed over me, as though every worry, every burden simply melted away. When I opened my spiritual eyes, I found myself in a place that words fail to describe, a realm beyond earthly understanding. It wasn't a room, but an endless expanse of pure, radiant light. This light wasn't blinding. It was warm, embracing, and deeply soothing, reaching into the very core of my being. And then, standing before me in his full glory that no human language could ever adequately capture, was Jesus Christ himself. His presence was overwhelming, but not in a terrifying way. It was a presence filled with perfect love, awe-inspiring, yet comforting. His eyes carried the weight of eternal wisdom, and his smile conveyed an ocean of compassion. "Welcome, Olivia," he spoke, his voice resonating with authority and gentleness. "There are truths you need to know. Truths that have been hidden and distorted for far too long." I felt my spiritual tears flow as he approached, the love emanating from him unlike anything I had ever known in my earthly life. It was pure, unconditional, all-encompassing. "My child," he continued, "you have carried many burdens, many questions about your people, about their place in my divine plan. Today, I will show you truths that will set many free from the chains of misunderstanding and prejudice." Jesus then began to reveal to me the true spiritual heritage of Black people, starting from the very beginning of human history. What he showed me was so vastly different from the narratives I had heard throughout my life, even within many Christian circles. "The curse of Ham," he said, sensing the question in my heart before I could voice it, "has been one of the greatest misinterpretations of my word. It has been used to justify unspeakable cruelty and oppression, but it was never my intention." He then showed me visions of the ancient world, visions of Ham and his descendants. I saw mighty kingdoms rising in Africa, flourishing under divine blessing, not under any curse. I saw people who carried profound spiritual wisdom, deep understanding that shaped their civilizations. The images were vivid, clear, great civilizations thriving under God's grace, not suffering under any divine judgment. "Look closely," Jesus instructed, and with his words, my eyes were opened to the true meaning of the events described in Genesis. The curse pronounced by Noah was specific to Canaan, not a blanket condemnation of all Ham's descendants. It was never about race or skin color. It was about the specific choices made and their consequences. He explained that my ancestors were among the first to recognize the divine in creation, to understand sacred truths that would take others centuries to comprehend. Their spiritual sensitivity was not a curse, but a blessing, one that had been misunderstood and feared by those who couldn't grasp its depth. I watched in awe as Jesus showed me ancient African spiritual practices, not as the primitive rituals they had often been portrayed as, but as sophisticated expressions of divine understanding. These practices, when pure and uncorrupted, reflected deep spiritual truths that aligned perfectly with God's Word. I saw how this unique sensitivity had been passed down through generations, even through the darkest periods of history. Even during slavery, this divine connection remained unbroken. It transformed into the soulful spirituals that carried both lamentation and hope, into prayers that moved mountains, and the unshakable faith that sustained millions through unimaginable hardship. "Watch," Jesus said, and as I did, scenes unfolded before my eyes, scenes from history that no textbook had ever taught me. I saw ancient African kingdoms where wisdom and spiritual understanding flourished. I saw leaders and priests walking in deep communion with God, their prayers and prophecies shaping the course of nations. These were not primitive peoples practicing superstition, he explained. They were philosophers, theologians, and mystics who understood fundamental truths about my nature and my creation. I saw how the Queen of Sheba, who visited Solomon, came from a long line of African rulers who sought divine wisdom. Her journey wasn't merely about witnessing Solomon's wealth and wisdom. It was a meeting of two great spiritual traditions, both blessed by God. "Your people," Jesus continued, "were among the first to understand the principle of communal worship, that when 2 or 3 gather in my name, I am there with them." They knew the power of collective prayer and praise long before it was written in the New Testament. I witnessed how this understanding had been preserved, even through the Middle Passage and slavery, the secret prayer meetings in the woods, the coded spirituals, the ring shouts. These were not just ways to cope with oppression. They were expressions of deep spiritual wisdom that kept a connection to the divine, despite every attempt to suppress it. "The strength of your people," Jesus said, "comes from this unbroken spiritual lineage." Even when forcibly converted to various forms of Christianity, they didn't simply adopt a new faith. They recognized the truth in it because it resonated with the spiritual wisdom they already possessed. He showed me how Black spirituality had always emphasized the personal experience of the divine, the importance of direct communion with God, and the understanding that spiritual truth must be lived, not just believed. These weren't departures from true Christianity, but expressions of its deepest truths. "Your ancestors," Jesus explained, understood that true worship isn't confined to buildings or specific days. They knew that every breath could be a prayer, every action could be an offering, and every moment could be sacred. "This is what I taught during my earthly ministry," he continued, "but many have forgotten." I saw how this understanding had shaped Black churches throughout history, the emphasis on experiencing God's presence, the importance of testimony, and the belief that worship should engage the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. "This is not emotional excess," Jesus clarified, addressing a criticism I had often heard. "This is worship in spirit and in truth. Your people have preserved this understanding when many others have lost themselves in empty ritualism." He then showed me how the Black church's focus on social justice and community care wasn't a modern development, nor a departure from spiritual focus. It was a continuation of the ancient African understanding that spiritual truth must be expressed through practical action. "When your ancestors fed the hungry, clothed the naked, and fought for justice," Jesus said, "they weren't just following my commands. They were living out the deep spiritual wisdom that has always been a part of their heritage." Then, Jesus showed me something that brought me to my knees: the true spiritual significance of Black suffering throughout history. It wasn't punishment or a curse, as some had claimed. It was a profound mystery of divine purpose. "Your people's suffering," Jesus said with deep emotion, "has been like my own suffering on the cross, not because it was deserved, but because through it, a greater purpose is being fulfilled. Through their suffering, your people have learned the power of forgiveness, the strength of faith, and the triumph of love over hate." I saw how the Black experience of suffering, of maintaining faith and humanity in the face of dehumanization, had created a unique testimony to God's faithfulness and power. the spiritual songs born in slavery, the prayers whispered in darkness, the hope maintained against all odds. These weren't just coping mechanisms, they were profound expressions of spiritual truth. Your people's history, Jesus explained, is a living testament to my power to bring life from death, hope from despair, and victory from defeat. He showed me how Black resilience in the face of oppression wasn't just human determination. It was a manifestation of divine power, the same power that raised Christ from the dead, working in and through a people who refused to be defeated by death-dealing forces. The strength of your people, Jesus said, comes from this deep understanding that no matter how dark the night, my light cannot be extinguished. This is why your people could sing about victory even in chains, praise even in persecution, and love even in the face of hate. Then Jesus revealed something that made my spirit tremble: the special role of Black people in the end times and the coming kingdom of God. He told me that your people's preservation through history has been for a purpose. The wisdom you have gained through suffering, your understanding of spiritual warfare, and your experience of maintaining faith under pressure, these will be crucial in the times ahead. I saw visions of a future where the deep spiritual wisdom preserved in Black culture would be critical for guiding humanity through dark times. The ability to maintain faith under pressure, to resist dehumanization, and to find joy in sorrow, these would be necessary for everyone. The day is coming, Jesus said, when the wisdom of your people will be recognized and sought after. The understanding you have preserved of how to see my hand even in suffering, how to maintain dignity in the face of degradation, and how to forgive enemies and love in the face of hate. This wisdom will light the way for many. He showed me how the Black experience of maintaining identity and faith under pressure had created a template for spiritual resistance that would be needed in the future. The lessons learned through centuries of struggle would become guidance for others facing similar challenges. Your people's story, Jesus explained, is not just about the past, it's about the future. The wisdom gained through their journey will help prepare my church for the challenges ahead. I saw how the Black church's tradition of prophetic witness, speaking truth to power while maintaining love for enemies, would become increasingly important. The ability to distinguish between systems of oppression and the individuals caught in them, to fight injustice while praying for oppressors, would be vital wisdom for the times ahead. The spiritual maturity developed through your people's journey, Jesus said, will help guide my church through the challenges of the end times. Their experience of maintaining faith when everything seems to contradict it, of finding joy in the midst of sorrow, of seeing my hand even in the darkest circumstances, these will be crucial lessons for all believers. He showed me how the Black understanding of spiritual warfare, not just as an individual battle, but as a struggle against systemic evil, would help the church recognize and resist the deceptive systems of the end times. Your people have learned, Jesus explained, how to recognize oppressive systems while maintaining love for individuals caught in them. This wisdom will be crucial as my church faces increasing pressure to conform to worldly systems. Then Jesus showed me something that filled me with awe: the special honor that would be given to Black believers in the coming kingdom. Those who have been last will be first, he said, not as revenge or mere reversal, but because through their suffering, they have developed spiritual qualities that reflect my own character: forgiveness, perseverance, joy in suffering, and love for enemies. I saw how the Black experience of maintaining dignity and humanity in the face of dehumanization had created a unique reflection of Christ's own character, his ability to maintain divine love even while being rejected and crucified. Your people's journey, Jesus said, has been a path of transformation into my image. Not because suffering itself is good, but because through it, they have learned to trust me at levels many others haven't had to reach. He showed me how this deep trust, this ability to praise in the midnight hour, this determination to love even when hate would be easier, these qualities would shine with special brightness in the kingdom. The day is coming, Jesus said, when the true spiritual heritage of your people will be fully revealed and honored. The wisdom they have preserved, the faith they have maintained, the love they have demonstrated, these will be recognized as crucial pieces of my kingdom's pattern. As my time with Jesus drew to a close, he gave me a final message, one that he commanded me to share with the world. Tell them, he said with intense love and authority, that the time of misunderstanding and distortion is ending. Tell them that Black people's spiritual heritage is not a curse, but a blessing, not a shame, but a glory, not a burden, but a gift to all humanity. He continued, tell them that the strength they have demonstrated, the wisdom they have preserved, the love they have maintained, even in the face of hate, these are not just human achievements, but divine gifts. They are manifestations of my power and character in unique ways. I am calling forth the full spiritual power and wisdom that I placed within Black people. The time has come for this light to shine fully, for this wisdom to be recognized, for this strength to be celebrated. As I felt myself being drawn back to my body, Jesus gave me one final word. Remember, Olivia, you didn't see these things just for yourself. You must share what you've witnessed. Many are ready to hear these truths now. The time of awakening has come. I awoke in the hospital, surrounded by beeping machines and concerned faces. The doctors told me I had been clinically dead for 15 minutes. They called my survival a medical miracle, but I knew it was much more than that. I had been given a divine appointment, a holy mandate to share these truths with the world. What Jesus revealed to me about Black people's true spiritual heritage and destiny has changed my life forever. It has given me a new understanding of our history, our suffering, and our purpose in God's plan. Most importantly, it has shown me that what many have seen as a curse was actually a blessing in disguise, a divine preparation for a special role in God's kingdom. I share this testimony not to promote division or superiority, but to bring healing and restoration. These truths are not just for Black people. They are for everyone who seeks to understand God's ways more deeply. They reveal how God can use what the world sees as weakness to display His strength, how He can turn suffering into glory, and how He has preserved crucial spiritual wisdom through a people many tried to destroy. If you're watching this, know that these revelations aren't just about the past. They are about the present and the future. They are about recognizing and celebrating the divine wisdom and strength that God has preserved through Black people's journey. They are about understanding how this wisdom and strength will be crucial for all believers in the times ahead. Most importantly, these revelations are about hope. Hope that God has not forgotten His people, that He has a purpose for every tear and every struggle, and that He is bringing forth something beautiful from even the darkest chapters of history. Let these truths sink deep into your heart. Let them challenge your preconceptions and expand your understanding. Let them bring healing to ancient wounds and hope for the future. For in understanding these truths, we all come closer to understanding the heart of God and His amazing plan for all His children. As I reflect on what I was shown, I am filled with an overwhelming sense of purpose. The truths Jesus shared with me are not just lessons to be learned. They are the foundation for a greater understanding of the divine plan. They invite us to recognize the strength and wisdom that have carried Black people through centuries of suffering, and to acknowledge the deep, unbreakable connection between faith and resilience. This testimony is not just a call for recognition, but a plea for unity. It's an invitation to see beyond the surface, to understand the unseen spiritual truths that bind us all together. It's a reminder that God's divine purpose is woven through the tapestry of every culture and every people, and that we must embrace the wisdom that comes from each of our shared journeys. As I share this, my hope is that these revelations inspire change, not just in how we view the past, but in how we live today and prepare for the challenges ahead. The wisdom of Black people, passed down through generations, is more than a legacy. It's a gift for all humanity, ready to guide us through the trials and triumphs that await us. In sharing this testimony, I hope to bring a sense of healing to wounds that have long been open and to spark a new understanding in those who are willing to listen. God has a way of turning the most painful moments into sources of strength and wisdom. What has been misunderstood for centuries is now being revealed for what it truly is: a divine gift, a blessing, and a crucial part of His plan for all of us. As we move forward, let us keep our hearts open to the wisdom that has been passed down through generations. Let us recognize the divine purpose behind every struggle and the strength that has been forged in the face of adversity. This is not just a message for one people, it is a message for all people, all believers, and all who seek to understand God's work in the world. The time has come for us all to honor this wisdom, to recognize the power in what was once overlooked, and to unite in the understanding that through God's love, all things can be transformed. As I continue to share what I've learned, I pray that these truths will bring about lasting change and help us move toward a future of healing, unity, and divine understanding. For in embracing these revelations, we come closer to the heart of God and His eternal plan for His children. Now that you've heard these revelations, what do you think about all of this? Share your experience or opinion in the comments. I'd love to know how this message impacted you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now and turn on notifications so you won't miss any more transformative content like this. The next recommended video on the screen will dive even deeper into this journey of faith and understanding. Don't miss it. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video.